motorcycle riding is one of the most awesome things anybody can do. It's a very beautiful thing. The adrenaline rush, the fun, the community, the speed, the power, the noise, everything about riding is awesome. I'm out here with my 2023 ZX6R Ninja KRT edition, baby. So beautiful. What's going on, y'all? This your boy Get a Mic. Much love, peace, and blessings to everybody checking in. We are out here in beautiful Kissimmee, Point Siena, Florida. And we out here taking the bike out this weekend, man, having a good old time. We off work, you know how I go. And I want to get out here, man, and, you know, talk a little bit today, man, about a few of the things that I've actually done in my past, man, that I'm actually still learning from. 5 mistakes that I've learned that I have made in the past that I want to share with you guys, man, and maybe you guys can go down in the comment section and let me know some of the things, some of the crazy things that you've done, or small little minor mistakes that you might have made. And let us know how you feel about it, man. And I'm about to get out here, get on this road real quick. I'm probably gonna head on over to my boy house. He's out of town, so I gotta go try to see if his Amazon packages didn't get stolen yet. Try to go put his package in the house for him, man. So let's go in there, let's get it in. Y'all stay tuned. All right. What's going on, biker community? This your boy Get a Mic. Much love, peace, and blessings to everybody checking into the channel. Really appreciate it, man. If you guys like this type of content and you're enjoying these motorcycle videos, I'd like for you to accept my invitation, man, and go ahead on and subscribe to the channel if you want to hang out with me more on this Kawasaki 636, man. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about a few or a couple or a handful of things that I've done in the past, mistakes and things that I actually had to learn from over time. Pretty sure a lot of you all have been riding for 20, 30, 40 years. So you probably learned these things many moons ago. And then there's some of you all who probably just started riding not too long ago, similar to me. I've actually just really started riding like in 2020 is when I first started riding. That was like when I first got my piece of two-wheel action, man. But I want to talk about a little bit of the things here. My first thing that I'm going to say, I actually started riding a 150cc scooter is really where I started. I know I bought a 300 afterwards, which was actually my first real motorcycle. But the mistake I made was when I was on the 150cc scooter, all right? And this was way before I even knew that you had to have an endorsement for anything bigger than the 49cc, at least here in the state of Florida. I'm not really sure how it is in other places, but I was actually out here riding around on that scooter, not even having an endorsement at the time because I just didn't know I needed it. But first thing is grabbing that front brake, man. I've actually had a situation where I ended up grabbing that front brake and getting myself tossed to the floor just from the fact that I had not learned, all of the necessary things and learned all of the necessary safety tactics and all of that you have to learn when you go through the MSF course and just, different motorcycle trainings. Grabbing that front brake, man, I had a situation where, we live out here in Florida amongst a lot of elderly people, man, and, sometimes these old folks, they don't see us and pull it right out in front of your boy. And I did what any rookie would do. And I tried to slam on that front brake and ended up right on the floor, man. So it wasn't a pretty sight. Of course, I wasn't going too fast, maybe about 30 miles an hour. At the most, probably about 30 miles an hour at the most, man, and I fell on the floor and it hurt. And I'm not in my late teens, early 20s no more. Your boy in his early 30s, man, and we don't bounce back like we used to when we was young. So it didn't feel like much at first. I jumped right up, picked up the scooter, man, and kept moving. But I definitely felt it afterwards, man. And and I understand right now, and I ain't really got on much gear, but I'm not really going anywhere too serious right now, man. So we'll talk about gear a little bit later. I definitely do have gear, and I know a lot of you probably gonna get pissed at me in the comment section for not having none on as I'm talking about this situation. But we definitely we definitely gonna get involved in talking about gear and what type of gear that I do have and when I wear it and all that good stuff, man. But yep, I definitely fell, bust my ass, and it hurt. But we got back up, man. So that's one of the things that I did. The first mistake I made was grabbing that front brake too hard and not using progressive braking. Now, the second mistake that I learned, and this was actually recent, you know, this second one actually happened to me really recent when I went to Tampa, that I had to actually learn how a different way to apply the rear brake. So my rear brake, what happened to me was I was riding on I-4 and there was I think it was like a F-250 or something, but he was carrying a trailer with a bunch of cars on it. You know what I mean? One of those transport type of trailers, but it was just it wasn't a 18-wheeler or nothing like that. But so he actually very quickly turned in front of me while we were on the highway going highway speeds, but it was some traffic. So you can kind of see there's a little traffic building up, some lanes going, some lanes not. And although I anticipated he could do that, I didn't know he was going to be able to do it so fast, because it wasn't in the 18-wheeler. He was in a regular sized truck, but he was pulling a bunch of cars, and he swerved over extremely fast in front of me. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? A little bit of progressive braking, we should be good to go. You know, non-issue, we should be good, right? But as I'm progressive braking the front, I'm also progressive braking the rear as well. And one thing that I had to learn, that I had to do for the rear brake, is you can't apply the rear brake in the same fashion that you apply the front brake when you're doing progressive braking, because all of the weight is going off of the rear tire when you progressive brake in an emergency stop. And my back tire got up off the ground just enough to skid, and I went to slide back and forth, and trying to figure out what the heck happened. And I thought I crossed all my T's and dotted all my I's, but come to find out, that rear brake, when you stopping at emergency speeds, is better, especially because I don't think this bike has ABS. It's better to progressive brake on the front, and on the rear, apply the brake and let off of the brake. Apply the rear brake, let off the rear brake. Don't never hold it when you're trying to stop in an emergency situation, because that's how you're gonna get that rear tire is gonna get from up under you. Obviously, that didn't happen. I didn't end up falling. I just skid a little bit. But it was one of those situations that I had to learn from. I had to go back to the drawing board, hit YouTube up, and go watch some videos. And I see exactly one of the professionals was explaining that when you have to do an emergency stop, you don't progressive brake the rear like you would the front. It's going to be different. You know what I mean? So I learned that. And if you guys ever have that situation where you have to apply the rear brake like that, you have to apply it a little bit at a time as you're slowing down. And while the front brake, you're doing progressive. Start a little bit, squeeze as you slow down, a little bit more, until you get into a manageable position. So the front brake, I understood. I got that squared away, got that under control. Did not know that the rear brake, you had to apply it in increments a little bit when you're trying to hurry up and stop. You can't just progressive brake the rear, because it's gonna lock up. So that's one thing I had to learn. Now moving on to number 3. Now this is a little bit different, but it's just something that I learned. I know it's going to be different for everybody. Everybody's situation is different, but for me, okay, I moved from 150cc scooter, right? It got up to about 60 miles per hour max. Okay, it's just me, first time on 2 wheels, learning, enjoying myself, riding around with the wife, enjoying the scenery, nothing too crazy, right? But eventually you're going to want to move into some more power. So I had never shift gears on a motorcycle at the time. This was back in 2020, right? I'm still fairly fresh. Hadn't switched gears, so I'm saying, you know what? Let me get me a 300, right? Let's go with a 300. I got a Kawasaki Versys X300.
and I learned on that, right? So had a little bit of fun with that, was ready to move on. So what I ended up doing after I started getting better with that machine and learning how to shift and going out on group rides and starting to implement myself a little bit more in the riding community, it was time for me to obviously upgrade immediately, because I already got the hang of this thing. I've been on the highway, I've rode in some group rides, I'm getting out every day on the bike on lunch and everything. So now it's time for me to really move up to a middle class bike. And the mistake that I made for number 3 was I moved to a Ninja 650, all right, instead of this 636. Now, was this a huge mistake? No, absolutely not. It wasn't a huge mistake, because I actually did learn a lot on that bike. It was a pretty decent step-up motorcycle from a 300, obviously, right? You're gonna have a lot more torque, a lot more speed, high-end speed. It gets up to about 130 miles an hour or something like that. But one of the things that I didn't personally like about it was that it was extremely upright the way you sit. When you sit, the handlebars is up high. I didn't too much thought it was cool, and I didn't feel like I felt like I looked it a little bit too big on the bike, to be honest. You know what I mean? It kind of felt real uncool, if that makes sense. I was looking kind of huge on that bike. And the other thing about the 650 that I didn't like too much was that it's 2-cylinder. And those 2-cylinder engines, they don't sound nearly as good as the 4-cylinder engines, as I'm pretty sure most of you all already know and understand that, right? 4-cylinder bikes just sound way better. So what I ended up doing was I took the 300 that I bought. I actually bought the Kawasaki X300 cash, right? I bought that bike outright. So the mistake ended up happening was when I went to trade that bike in, they didn't give me that much for it because it was a 300, but it was still pretty brand new, so I did get something for it. But when I traded it in for the 650, now I had myself a nice little loan, you know what I mean? I had a loan at this point, and now I was kind of trapped in with this 650 that I actually outgrew in a few weeks. Like I wasn't even really needing that bike anymore after a couple of weeks of riding. I'm like, all right, cool, I'm ready, ready for the real power. I'm ready for the real sound. And jumping from that 300 and jumping into a 2-cylinder 650 sport touring bike was one of my mistakes that I made, because now when it was time to trade that bike in, now I didn't have as much money towards the bike that I actually wanted, which I have right now. So with this particular bike, I was happy I got it. I had to hurry up and get out that 650, but if I would have traded that 300 in and went straight for the ZX6R, I would have had way less of a loan. I would have had such a small loan that I would have ended up paying this bike off relatively quick, right? But it's all good, man. You live, you learn. I got the 636. I do got a bigger loan than I would like, but we still gonna knock it out because we out here getting money. We're out here getting this money. But now, moving on to number 4. Number 4. What is number 4? Number 4 slipped my mind. What was number 4? I gotta look at my phone. I think I have it written down here on my phone. Give me one moment. When I get to the light, we're gonna get on number 4. I'm headed to my boy Fiz's house right now. He's out of town. I think he's in Miami. And I think he got some packages at his house from Amazon, man. And I hope they still there, but we all gonna find out together, ain't that right? We're definitely gonna figure it out. All right, so I just remembered what number 4 was. So number 4, one of the mistakes that I made was removing my factory mirrors for some mirrors with not so good visibility. All right, I'm pretty sure most of y'all that ride 636s and a lot of these other sport bikes, you end up getting the mirrors that are supposed to look like winglets. You know what I'm talking about? The little mirrors. Pretty sure you guys know about those mirrors and or have those mirrors. But that was one of my mistakes that I made, because I got them for the 650 because the bike looked, I was trying to make the bike a little bit more sleeker, a little bit more nice looking, a little cooler. Trying to make the bike a little closer to a 636, which it could never be. But I ended up putting those on this bike when I first got it. The little sleek little mirrors that flip up, you know what I mean, on eBay or Amazon. And what ended up happening was with those mirrors, you can't see nothing. it's extremely hard to see anything out of those mirrors. And on these type of bikes, man, these 636s and some of these, you know, other more powerful bikes like the thousands and things of that nature, they are way powerful. They're very, very, very fast, and you want to be able to have clear visibility, 360 situational awareness all the way around when you're riding. And those little mirrors, man, they were actually very, very tough to see out of, and it's very dangerous. You know what I mean? You can really, really get hurt if somebody's coming up behind you and you can't really see them, or somebody's not paying attention to you. And I'm gonna tell a quick story. When I first got this motorcycle, it was my first ride on it, really. I mean, I rode around the neighborhood a little bit, but like my first real ride out, I had those little sleek mirrors on, and some lady in Orlando, Florida, wasn't paying attention and turned and ran right into the side of my bike. This bike, my beautiful 636, a lady ran right into it. Thankfully, you know, we have that big can, the exhaust, that huge exhaust that's on the right side of this bike, and her bumper hit my muffler. So I was able to, like, oh snap, I seen her hit me from the, like that, on the side of the bike, and I was able to wiggle out of it. I told her to pull over. I checked everything out, and it wasn't really big of a deal, you know what I mean? Because I was actually already had the muffler already in the mail on the way, so I ended up just swapping that out immediately. But with those mirrors, I was not able to see her as good as I would have been if I would have had the factory mirrors or some bigger mirrors. So that was one mistake. That was one mistake that I actually made, that I think if you guys know anything about that, you probably understand that it is definitely hard to see out of some of those aftermarket mirrors. And bad things, if they're gonna happen, they can happen real quick, and you gotta be careful, man. So, and we're gonna get into number 5 right here in just a second. The number 5 mistake that I made, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys on the channel probably already know, is having my tag flipped up or not visible legally for the police. Yep, your boy got pulled over a couple Saturdays ago, and got pulled over, ran into a police trap, and my tag wasn't in a legal position. So obviously when you're out on these main roads and you're riding, man, you definitely gotta have that tag in a position where they can actually read it, unless you plan on doing something illegal and running, which I have no intention of doing because I got a family, I got a wife and some kids. I ain't got time to be out here running from cops and killing myself trying to go 170 miles an hour running from the cops. Just ain't got the time to be leaving my kids alone, man. You know what I mean, on this earth. So make sure you flip that thing back out, man, and make sure that it's facing where the cops can see it. So when they get behind you, they don't have no reason to stop you. They don't have no reasonable, articulable suspicion to pull you over that you're committing a crime, and you should be good to go. Yeah, man, so that's pretty much all I got for those, man. I mean, obviously, an honorable mention of a mistake that I make, and I keep making, I'm making right now, and obviously I don't got no gear on, but I got the gear at the house, and we're going to start wearing gear more too, man. I know it pisses a lot of y'all off to see people with no gear. You know, I was one of those type of people, man, that just, you know, all super serious about the gear, and I still am, but it's just sometimes, man, it just be so hot that I feel like if I wear the gear, I'm probably going to die. You know, I'm probably going to die on the bike with the gear on. It's just that serious, man. But we just pulling up to Fiz's house. I got to take his packages in the crib, and it looks like the packages are here. So it looks like we should be good to go on that. I'm gonna go ahead and take his packages in the house real quick. All right, door is locked. All right, my people, once again, I appreciate everybody for checking in. Thank you all for watching. If you made it to this end of this video, I really appreciate it. This your boy Get a Mic. Much love, peace, and blessings to everybody checking in. If you guys want to subscribe to the channel, feel free to subscribe. I will be making more videos, and let me know what y'all guys want to see in the comment section too, man. We got more coming up. Much love, peace, and blessings, and I'm out of here. Peace.